Hello there folks, hope you're all doing fine. In this video I'm going to talk about what I believe the Scotland squad should be for the upcoming summer tour. The tour of course which Mike Blair will be the head coach of and includes a game against England A on the 27th of June and test matches against Romania and Georgia in the middle of July. Now of course I know technically the game against England A is Scotland A as well, but I can imagine a fair chunk of the squad that will be playing against Romania and Georgia will also be playing in that match. And of course with our usual head coach and defence coach away with the Lions and 8 of our senior players on the Lions tour as well, I'm hoping we can use this summer to blood a few young players, but also understanding that we do need some experience in there and we can't be going into any of these games underestimating the opposition. But before we go into the squad I'd select, I'd like to send my best wishes to Cammy Redpath, who's sadly looking set to miss the rest of the calendar year after suffering a very bad knee injury. It's a shame because he's certainly a bright prospect for us and I'd really love to have seen him go on this summer tour, but I do hope he gets himself back fit in time for the 2022 Six Nations and beyond. I'm hopeful, but I wish him well in his recovery. So without further ado, here's the squad I'd pick for the summer tour. The captaincy of this tour, I would give it to Jamie Ritchie. I think Jamie Ritchie is future Scotland captain's material anyway, just with the way he plays, the way he puts himself about the pitch, the commitment he gives to every game, he leads by example, and I really believe he's got it in him to step up to the job in Stuart Hogg's absence. The back three options I'd take, obviously the recognised names there are Sean Maitland and Darcy Graham, Blair Kinghorn as well. Kyle Steyn was of course capped by Scotland last year in the 2020 Six Nations game against France. I think he's been playing well enough to earn himself more of an opportunity at test level. And the three new caps in there, of course Rufus McLean, who's been showing himself to be a very bright prospect for the past few years in Scottish rugby, and I think fully deserves his opportunity to go on this tour. Cole Forbes, of course ex-New Zealand under-20 international, Scottish qualified, and has been glowing really well for the Glasgow Warriors in recent weeks. He's been looking a very bright prospect at full-back, and I'm really wanting to see what he can bring to the table on the international stage. And also Edinburgh's new signing Freddie Owsley, ex-Great Britain under-20 sprinter. Some reports saying he's as fast as Louis Rees-Zammit. But of course being fast doesn't automatically make you a great rugby player. It helps as a winger, but of course you need the ability to step, the ability to play with ball in hand, and in this day and age the ability to tackle as well. However, with some of the hype I've read about him, I think this would be a good opportunity to throw him into the international stage and see what he can do. Those are my back three options. On to the centres, and the obvious choices there, of course, Hugh Jones, Sam Johnson, Mark Bennett I think deserves to go on this tour as well. I'd also take Matt Currie, who's looking a bright prospect for Edinburgh and looks like he's got a bright future in the game. Give him an opportunity on this tour. Even if he doesn't play in the games, I think he'll gain invaluable experience just by being called up to the squad. George Taylor as well, I think he's been a very decent player for Edinburgh these past couple of seasons. Whether he gets ahead of Sam Johnson for the 12th shirt, I don't know, but I'd certainly think he should be given a chance to be in the squad at least. Then of course you have Sione Tuipulotu, who's going to be Glasgow's replacement for Hugh Jones next season, can play centre or wing, another who's Scottish qualified, and this would be a great opportunity to get him into the international setup. Rory Hutchinson as well, who I think's been unlucky to miss out on the past few Scotland squads. He's still been playing well for Northampton, but he's not been getting a look in under Gregor Townsend, so I think he deserves to be on this tour too. The fly halves, Adam Hastings is of course an obvious choice, and I've no doubt will be the first choice 10. But I'd like to see Nathan Chamberlain and Ross Thompson, who are two up-and-coming Scottish fly halves, and for either one of them to be given a chance as Hastings' understudy on this tour. Both very good prospects, as I said, and I think will learn a lot being in the squad, should they make it, of course. The scrum halves, George Horne's an obvious one for me, as he's playing for Glasgow again. He's been playing pretty well in recent weeks. Jamie Dobie, another young prospect with a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Charlie Chapman, another young prospect who's Gloucester's reserve scrum half, and I think he deserves his chance to show what he can do with the squad in this tour. Maybe make the bench for one of the tests, we shall see. I know I've missed out a few more experienced names there, likes of Duncan Weir and Henry Pyrgos, but I think this is a position we do need to look to the future a bit more and look to develop more depth in. On to the forwards now. And with the props, the obvious choices there, Ollie Kebble, Simon Bergen. I think Edinburgh prop Pierre Schoeman does qualify under the 3-year residency rule this summer. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. The rookie of these props being Dan Gamble, the Edinburgh youngster, who I don't think will play in the tests, but is another one who I think will gain invaluable experience of going on this tour if he's selected. The obvious name missing there is WP Nell, but I honestly think his best days are behind him, and he's 35 now, so I think we need to look to the future, but also understand that props isn't our best position in terms of depth, so that's something I think we really need to improve on going forward as best we can. On to the hookers, and I've gone for mostly experience there. It's good to see Fraser Brown back fit and playing again for Glasgow. Dave Cherry's done nothing to warrant being dropped after his Six Nations performances, same with George Turner. It's also good to see Sale hooker Ewan Ashman committing himself to the Scottish cause. He's now publicly stated his preference to play for Scotland over England. He's another youngster with a bright future, and I think he deserves to be in the Scotland squad this summer. On to the second rows, and obviously the experienced internationals there, Scott Cummins, Ben Toulis, Grant Gilchrist. Gloucester's Alex Craig's obviously got a bit of experience as well and did alright when he came off the bench in the games he did in the recent Six Nations. Jamie Hodgson, a youngster who's recently signed a new contract with Edinburgh. I think he deserves his opportunity in the squad. Although I don't see him making the test side, he's certainly another who I think would gain great experience being just part of the squad. Of course, the notable names missing there are Richie Gray, Johnny Gray and Sam Skinner. Johnny Gray and Sam Skinner, of course, chasing the Premiership title with Exeter. And because of that, I think I'd give them the summer off from the Scotland tour at least. You never know. Johnny Gray, anyway, might be considered for the Lions if there's an injury there, but who knows there. Richie Gray, I don't think he's the player he once was. I think there's a reason Gregor Townsend dropped him halfway through the recent Six Nations. He's been doing okay for Glasgow, but the times I've seen him, he's not really stood out for me. Some might disagree, but I think there's better options we should be given a chance. On to the flankers. Of course, you've got Jamie Ritchie there. Magnus Bradbury, I think, deserves a recall to the squad. Josh Bayliss has been going alright for Bath. I think he deserves a call-up and should win a cap in this series. Luke Crosby, who's been largely Hamish Watson's understudy at Edinburgh for the past few seasons, but when he does have his opportunities for Edinburgh, he shows he does have quality, and I think fully merits his place on this tour. Thomas Gordon as well, and Rory Darge, who's another up-and-coming young prospect for Glasgow. The number 8, the obvious choices there, of course, Nick Hainan and Matt Fagerson. Both impressed during the Six Nations, particularly Nick Hainan in his performance against France. And providing both fit, both should be on this summer tour in my view. Along with 19-year-old Ben Muncaster, another who's a promising talent and another who, if he doesn't make the test side, I think he will learn a lot from the experience of just being around the international setup. I think it's a very healthy thing to put youngsters in that kind of environment just to give them a taster of what's to come in the future and also what is expected at the international standard of training and what is expected if they want to be considered in future squads. So that is the squad I'd pick on the Scotland 2021 summer tour. I think this tour is a great opportunity to see more fringe players and prospects be given a chance and to know what it's like on the international stage. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later on.